everyone. Welcome to the February 18th Johnson County Planning Board. As is our custom, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask Mr. Hudson to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is approval of the minutes from the January 28th Planning Board meeting.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Ms. Holmes, second by, motion to approve by who?
Ms. Holmes.
Okay.
Second.
I got mixed up between you and Fred. Motion approved by Ms. Holmes, a second by Mr. Hudson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I'm starting it off great tonight. Appreciate y'all. Next on our agenda is election of officers for the 2025 year.
Make a motion to leave them like they are.
I'll second.
All right, a motion to keep the current officers by Mr. Hudson, a second by Ms. Howard. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next we will do subdivisions. Just a reminder for anyone that may be here for the two subdivisions that are on our agenda this evening. The vast majority of land in Johnson County is zoned agricultural residential, which means by right you can build houses on it or you can farm it. So it's not the purview of this board to determine if a subdivision is appropriate for a given area, only that the subdivision meets our codes and ordinances. So if you are going to give testimony relative to any subdivision, I would ask that you please make that testimony relevant to our codes and ordinances. Because we are the final approval body for subdivisions, you will need to be sworn in if you're going to speak relative to a subdivision. So if you're going to do that, I ask that you please stand and raise your right hand. If you're for or against, have questions with regard to a subdivision, please stand and raise your right hand. All right, do you affirm the information you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and this is your solemn affirmation?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Marr.
Yes, this is, first up is Turlington Tract Phase 2. Owner is Tony and Diane Johnston. Developers Benson Hardy Land LLC. Surveyor engineer is Freedom Firm. It's 3028 Benson Hardy Road in the Elevation Township. It's served by West Johnston Fire and EVS Rescue Squad. 18.38 acres, 21 lots proposed. Johnston County Public Water, individual septic. Traffic count for this road is not available, and it does not appear on the comprehensive transportation plan as needing improvement. This is just another phase of what was approved a couple of months ago to the, if you'll look at your maps, it's to the, appears to be to the south of this property. And it was 33 lots in the first phase.
Any questions of Mr. Marr? All right, who'd like to be heard on behalf of Turlington Tract Phase 2? We have the applicant for Turlington Tract Phase 2.
Appears the engineer is absent this evening. He meals.
So we do not expect him, you don't believe? Okay.
He's on both of them.
Make a motion to table.
And out of respect to anyone else that may be here for Turlington Tract Phase 2, is there anyone that would like to be heard in opposition to or with questions related to this subdivision? All right, we probably should entertain a motion to table this.
I make a motion to table for 30 days.
Second.
Okay, make a motion to table for 30 days by Ms. Holmes, a second by Ms. Howard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next, Wade Lassiter Tract.
It is also the same engineer, so I don't know if you want me to introduce it or,
I think we just go ahead and table it.
No, I'm here for that one.
okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Wade Lassiter Tract, owners, Wade Lassiter, developers, Crantock Land LLC, surveyor engineers, Freedom Firm. Its location is the intersection of Black Creek Road and Long Branch Road in the Smithfield Township, served by Wynn Fire District and Four Oaks Rescue. It's 37.9 acres, 36 lots proposed, Johnston County Public Water, individual septic. Traffic count for Black Creek Road is 1,900 vehicles per day, and that was in 2022. Long Branch Road is not available. Neither road appears on the comprehensive transportation plan as needing improvement. A reverse frontage buffer is required for all lots backing up to Black Creek Road and to Long Branch Road.
But you say the count on Black Creek was 9,500, or is it
The last count that I found online was 1,900
1,900? Okay.
in 2022.
But I'll believe on it was 9,500. I mean, never mind, I got it. I'm on the wrong page.
You got it.
I got you.
Any other questions for staff? All right, who'd like to be heard on behalf of Wade Lassiter Tract? Give us your name and address, please.
Bradley Stansel, 466 Stansel Road, Andrew, North Carolina. Applicant, obviously Carlos, our engineer's sick with the flu, so you got the runner-up.
No problem. What would you like us to know about the subdivision?
Just here if you guys have any questions.
Any questions of the applicant?
Is this tract across the street? Have we seen that one?
The one across the street is actually in Four Oaks.
Is what?
Four Oaks.
But do you guys own that property?
We will, yes, sir.
But it's not part of this, because it's in
No,
a
ma'am.
different planning district.
Yeah.
Okay.
It appears that the current pond is basically on 2 lots. Am I reading that right? Is that pond gonna remain?
Is the pond going to remain? Yes, sir.
Okay. And you plan to have that pond split across 2 tracks?
That's the intent, unless we need to change that for, I'm missing the mail, what you guys want.
Other questions of the applicant?
I was hoping the development, if you do develop it across the street, that the roadways would line up. I don't know how you're gonna break that other track out over there, but I think it'd make an effort to line them roads up. I mean, we're already at 5, we already got 2 entrances 500 feet apart, 560.
I do not have that information at the time, but
Whenever that
certainly,
comes
I'm
up,
sure there'll be some push to do so.
yeah.
Do you know where the mail kiosk is going to be located?
I'm not sure if it's depicted on there or not. Typically, we run that by the mail department, and they grant us where they
Okay.
want it at, but I'm not 100% sure on this one.
On the pond, the pond will be actually owned by 2 different lots, the sections of the pond.
That's the
Or
way it's
is it-
depicted on here. Yes, sir.
I know in the past, we've thought hard about that, keeping it on 1 lot versus 2 because of the separated.
We've tried to avoid in the past, particularly multiple owners of a pond. Sometimes two's better than 10.
Right.
But that might be a thought in your final layout, is to keep that pond on 1 lot, just to avoid problems down the road. I don't know, that depends on how your soils are.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to be heard as it relates to Wade Lassiter Tract? Yes, sir. Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Jonathan Arp. I live 115 Long Branch Road. I'm an adjacent property owner.
Yep.
So, all right, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak. I'm an adjacent property owner there on Long Branch Road. I was very happy to see this subdivision get kind of redesigned from the initial proposal, since it initially crossed part of my property and was going to spit all these houses out in front of my driveway. So I was very happy to see it not go on the Long Branch. I do have a couple of questions. I'm happy to see one of them has already been asked related to the retention ponds. There are actually two on this property. There is a second pond further back in the woods that appears to be split up between 3 lots. So there's a lot of water runoff in this area, and we were very concerned when we saw the initial plans and the ponds did not appear. So if they're filled in, it's going to send a lot of water into my ditch and the front of my yard. So I do have a question for the developer. It sounds like the pond there, the central pond will remain. I'm assuming the other pond in the woods will also remain, but it is currently split between multiple lots. Additional question for the developer, will there be an HOA involved in this development? Because I'm curious who will be responsible for maintaining the ponds, since they are used for critical water runoff. And then-
Typically, I can answer that
Oh,
one
yeah,
for you,
yeah,
whether
thank
it's a HOA or not. Typically, if they're split like this or all included on one parcel, they are generally maintained by the property owner.
That's what I figured based on previous meetings, actually, that I've observed, but I just wanted to bring that up.
Yep.
And also sort of during the construction phase, since the pond is sort of in the middle of all of this, what measures will be taken to ensure that the pond isn't damaged or any water runoff? Because we're all running off wells in this space, so I'm concerned about anything getting into my well water. Next topic is the tree line that runs along Long Branch Road. So if you can zoom in on that, I'd appreciate it. So my property there is 115. If you actually highlight it, part of my property extends across the road. I have a bit of a buffer on the other side to essentially prevent anyone from putting a driveway there. It's kind of nice. But there is obviously a large tree line. None of the trees are on my property, but I am curious about whether or not the tree line will remain as part of the development. It
Looks like
is
it's staying.
used by a lot of wildlife. There's a lot of birds in this. It's a wildlife corridor that moves through the space. It is also almost constantly wet. I can tell you that space that is my property has standing water in it now and has standing water in it nearly year-round. As you get further and further towards Black Creek Road, I think they've even indicated on the planning that there is standing water there, but it is just constantly wet because it's runoff. So I am curious whether or not the trees will remain. Obviously, once the new landowners take over, it's their property. They can cut trees down if they want to cut trees down. But I'm curious what the developers plan to do with the tree line. In relation to that, Lot 1 is almost completely covered by the tree line. So I'm curious if they're planning to clear the trees for Lot 1. If so, how far are they planning to go? I have 2 more topics, apologies. Next piece, internet. It's hard to believe, in 2025, we have no internet in this area. We are in a completely unserviced bubble, if you will. We have no physical, everything is run through wireless. Like my internet is cellular, I'm T-Mobile home internet or satellite based. So I'm sure everyone agree, internet is very critical. I'm curious if the developer has any plans to remedy that. Are they going to bring someone in to run internet, or are they going to rely on the county to do it? Because right now, looking at the NCDIT broadband profile, there does appear to be a contract awarded by the state for our area to, I think it's Brightspeed, but it doesn't have a required completion date until January of 2026. So if they're not going to run internet, it's going to be very hard to sell these homes.
I don't believe the provision of internet is part of our subdivision ordinance.
It's a question
Okay.
I'm curious about, just to be aware, because it might make it difficult to sell them. And the last bit, I think, was already addressed. We were very curious about the plot across the road. When will it be developed? Because it is owned by the same, and I had the same concerns about additional entryways. Because we already have Long Branch Road there. We have multiple homes feeding into it. If we're going to have 2 more entryways from this subdivision, when they develop the tract across the road, are we going to have 2 more? So traffic is a concern. Those are my questions. I have them written down if you would like this copy.
I think I wrote most of them down. We can ask. Any questions of the gentleman? Okay, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to be heard as it relates to Wade Lassiter tract? Okay, a couple questions for the applicant, if you don't mind. You heard the gentleman's questions. I think I can summarize them as the pond to remain and the trees to remain, and if you want to comment on internet and clearing for lot one, that's fine.
Right, yeah. So typically, we leave as much vegetation as we can. We want as much of a natural buffer as possible. As far as lot one goes, it'll be minimum clearing, enough to get the home and septic tank in there. And then as far as internet, typically, one of the good things about whenever us mean developers do show up, internet usually follows us. So they should have internet relatively quickly once we start establishing homeowners.
Other question? Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, bring it back to staff.
Staff recommendations, approval subject to the conditions and requirements in the staff report.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Ms. Holmes, second by Mr. Little. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next on our agenda are rezonings. A note about rezonings, we serve as an advisory board to the Board of County Commissioners. So each one of these rezoning cases will be heard by the Board of County Commissioners at their
April,
April 7th meetings.
6 p.m.
At 6 p.m. So if you're here relative to any of the rezoning cases, please put that date and time on your calendar because they will be heard by the Board of County Commissioners for a final determination then.
Since both of these rezoning cases are straight requests for rezonings, I'm going to pass out. I've got 5 of them, so if you can look with your neighbor, it basically shows what would possibly be able to be built.
I've highlighted.
You ready?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
First up is rezoning case 2502. It's a petition to rezone 19.41 acres located at 13383 Cleveland Road in the Cleveland Township from agricultural residential special use district to industrial 1, which is light industrial. Owner and applicant is Lighthouse Cleveland Springs LLC. Utilities and services are provided by Macklemore Fire and CNS Rescue Squad. Existing land use is on agriculture residential special use district and is a vacant lot as part of the Village of Cleveland Springs planned unit development. Surrounding land uses are zoned agriculture residential and used for those purposes. Zoned I-2 and IHI overlay and used for various uses allowed in both districts. Traffic concerns, traffic count for this portion of Cleveland Road is 9,500 vehicles per day, and that was in 2023. It appears on the comprehensive transportation plan as an existing boulevard needing improvement. It's located within a regional mixed-use center on the future land use place type on the county's envisioned Johnston 2040 land use plan. It also includes these uses include a mix of retail, restaurant service, office, and civic and institutional uses. There were 32 notices sent to adjacent property owners.
Any questions of staff? Thanks, sir. Who'd like to be heard on behalf of case 25-02? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, my name is Alexander Gwynn. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Daughtry, Woodard, Lawrence, and Starling in Smithfield. I'm here this evening with Mr. Lou Starling, Mr. Ray Sneed, and Mr. Joaquin Canals. We're all here representing the property owner, Lighthouse Cleveland Springs. We're here on our obviously our application to rezone this property from ARCZ to light industrial, and this property is as of now and has been for some time a vacant, non-performing piece of real estate, and we considered this to be kind of an uncontroversial application for rezoning, that the property is not being used as its highest and best use, and my clients and their representatives intend to develop the property in a way that we think is consistent with the future land use plan. I've seen the staff report that mentions that this property lies within a regional mixed-use district, and the regional mixed-use center, the 2040, or the future land use plan defines the regional mixed-use center, or refers to it as centers of activity that include a mix of retail, restaurant, service, office, and civic and institutional uses. This particular tract is right on the periphery of that regional mixed-use center, and our client intends to use it for flex space buildings. We're not talking about high bays. We're not talking about salvage yards. These are high quality flex space buildings that would fit with the surrounding uses. I also want to mention that and I'd like to have Mr. Canals come up and describe a little better what the intended use of the property is. But prior to submitting our application, we did try to find out what the conditions or restrictions might be on this property, and there was some difficulty in identifying what the issue was. We know that there was a development that was intended for this area that I think was abandoned, and then I think there was a later application for residential use which was denied, and so this property is not being utilized to its highest and best use, and we think this application would bring it up to that. So if there's no objection, I'd like to ask Mr. Joaquin Canals, who also represents the applicant, to come up and describe what's the intended use of this property. Sure.
We have been involved with a tremendous amount of development in Wake County as far as flex buildings. And just to be clear what a flex building is, it is a one-story industrial building with an office component. That office component is typically 20 to 30% of the building. These buildings are normally in the size of 20 to 25,000 square feet. They're not huge, high industrial buildings. They would have limited truck access, and they would cater to local businesses or regional companies that want a location in this area. They're typically used by small businesses, and that's what we envision on this property. And we see a potential of maybe 5, maybe 6 buildings total on this property. That's what we envision. They would be metal buildings with brick around 3 sides of it. Very, very nice, very, curb appealing, and that's what we envision.
Can you give us your name and address, please, just for the record?
Sure. The last name is Canals. That's C-A-N-A-L-S. First name is spelled Joaquin.
Okay. And the address?
Business address is, we have 2 offices.
I'm glad to say I'm not the only one that has to get out the business card sometime.
We have 2. My main office is 5121 Kingdom Way, Suite 200, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Perfect. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Great.
Questions of the gentleman? Or You have any other presentations you'd like to make before we move to questions?
Well, we do have a copy of a preliminary site plan. Do we have the tools to bring that up on the screen? I've just got a paper copy. Is that possible?
Just want to point a note here, Mr. Chair, this is a legislative hearing. Any decision made about this that's in the affirmative to move forward, it is not subject to the site plan. They're not bound by the site plan as it is strictly legislative. If it were conditional zoning is still legislative, but it is a general use district we're going with, so it would not be bound by the site plan.
Thanks, sir.
Again, just to reiterate what I said a couple of minutes ago, we envision, as you can see there, 5 buildings. No more than that will fit there. So it would occupy maybe half of the property. The rest would be it would remain, just open land. And it would have, each building is approximately, I can't read it there, but plus minus 15 to 20,000 square feet. And again, these buildings would have normally an office area of anywhere from 10 to 20% of the building.
I understand what flex space is. What's the maximum height you would have for your building?
No more than 18 feet, 20 max.
Bay doors all on the back?
Yes, sir. You may have a drive-in door on the side, but primarily facing away from the road.
And the 3 sides would be the length of the building all the way, or just the
Typically-
facade, or
yeah,
10
typically
to
it's-
20 feet?
Again, it's typically what we like to do is the whole front, and then just wrap around the corners. And then the corners would be office space with windows, just office area.
Right.
So the question that I've got, understanding that zoning runs with the land, and the broad set of uses that are included in I-1, given that you've asked for a straight rezoning, can you talk me through the thought process of requesting this as a straight rezoning rather than a conditional zone?
Well, it's fairly simple. We understood this to be that there may be some restrictions that it wasn't clear what they were, but it was in order to find out what we needed to do here. I-1 was the best fit for this property and for the intended use.
Okay.
So if there are conditions, I think the staff report indicated mitigation, whatever those are, we'd like to hear them. So that's, hopefully that answers your question. But
I'm curious, I think that's Cleveland Station 2. That's in the little triangle.
the fire department?
Station.
Yes,
Fire
sir.
station.
You have any conversations with them about the impact that any additional traffic may have on them? I'm just,
We have spoken to the fire marshal. Yeah, we've had a number of conversations with the fire marshal, and he's very supportive. He would like to see something developed around, his fire station. And we showed him this, and he was very, he was supportive.
okay, thank you.
Other questions? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to be heard as it relates to case 25-02? Go ahead. Just give us your name and address, please.
My name is Terry Devlin. I live at 13380 Cleveland Road, right across from the place that these gentlemen wish to build, whatever it is, the metal buildings. I have a lot of questions. Now, I don't know how this works. I've been to one of these before, not here, but someplace else.
It's okay. You ask your questions and we'll see.
And I have a statement here I'd like to read first, and then I'd like to answer some of his questions about what they intend to do. And I have some questions myself. I don't know if we were allowed to ask you while they were asking them or not, so.
You can ask me and then we'll try
All
our
righty.
best to get your
Now,
questions answered.
what I'd like to start off with, I've written this about 3 or 4 times already. I do want to start off with saying good evening to everyone. We are here to protest the rezoning proposal for the 1941 acres located at 13383 Cleveland Road. This property is directly across the street from our home. We did not move here to have an industrial facility across the street. This will decrease the value and of our property and other residential properties on Cleveland Road. The house of 13304 Cleveland Road, that's one of our neighbors that we have here. Some of these are my neighbors here too. Sold for over $900,000. Now, we would see with this buildings going up that we don't know exactly what's going to be going across the street. That's going to decrease our property values, which I will say that our property taxes have just been increased as well. We do not need to increase the pollution, the noise, the traffic, and trash in this area. That is not why we moved to this particular area here. We are often, and we are the ones, we are your neighbors here, which a lot of people don't know. We are the ones that pick up the trash along the property and on Glen Road as well, too, which I haven't heard anything. They also mentioned in here Glen Road, but nobody had mentioned that one. People already use the streets as a main drive-through to and from Wake County. And also, fixing potholes in the high-traffic area should be main property and currently require multiple emails to fix, which everything we have to do is through an email. We also need to preserve the trees. There's a whole bunch of trees right across the street, which are beautiful, which we love to look at ourselves. I don't want to be looking across the street and seeing a plastic building here that may or may not be coming in with trucks coming in out of the 2-lane road, which the traffic is horrible as it is. We also need to preserve the trees to help with the decrease of air pollution and keep the area looking nice. There are plenty of other undeveloped areas nearby that could be used for this industrial facility, likely some around zoned for that are already zoned for that particular property as well too. Now, can I ask some of the questions now, what he was talking about?
Yes, ma'am. Ask me any questions you got, and we'll see if we can get
Okay,
some
because he didn't really spell out, and I'm not really sure either, just by listening to them, what is industrial? Does that include anything that they could have chemicals or something right across the street from us? We have families, we have children, my grandchildren are coming to live with me too soon. So this is a really big point for all of us that live in the area.
Yes, so the planning department maintains a table of uses, and we've got one here for us that's highlighted for the industrial use, and there are quite a few uses in that. I count, let me do it.
And we have well water as well too for that. We don't want our water polluted.
Sorry, I'm still counting. I count 50 different uses that are permitted in industrial one
Oh, that's
district.
ridiculous.
Chemical manufacturing is not one.
Chemical manufacturing isn't one.
Anything else? What do they consider?
Actually, here.
Because there's a lot of different places that consider a lot of different things for what that may involve.
Let's do this. Take that. Ones highlighted in yellow are the ones that are permissible in industrial one.
Is this something I have to go over in 5 minutes?
No, you can review it at your leisure. I just want you to know what we have in front of us in terms of the types of uses.
Automotive
that are
repair
allowed.
mechanics, you know that it contains oil and grease and everything else that is pollutants
Yes, ma'am.
into the soil. We do not want that.
Okay.
Automotive body, we already have one. We have a nice place already over here. What's that one called, Jim? The guy we cope with, the automotive car fix. We have them that live and give you a ride home. Let's save on that. automatic reply, body shops, automotive service station. Does that mean gas and different things along our street as well, too? Petroleum?
I appreciate you reviewing it. We can read it and see it, and I think you'll find that we understand your, and probably share your concerns about some.
I really hope you do, because, I mean, I don't know you folks, but, I mean, I know my neighbors, I know the people around us, and a lot of them are elderly as well, too, which that's the reason why they are not here, so they cannot speak for themselves. Was there anything else? I mean, there's a lot of things here that,
Do you have other questions you'd like to
let me see.
answers for?
Resident, okay, now what we were told originally when they built those condos and homes across the street from us, which the person apparently owned the whole piece of property. Now, there are homes and there are condos on the other side, which the other part is where school kids get picked up. They get picked up right on the corner there. I see them every single day. You know how many kids we already have problems enough with the traffic being backed up, and they go inside that place as well, too. So I don't know what else they're going to be doing, going inside that building as well, too, where these kids, because there's separate buses for the high school and there's separate buses for the grammar school kids as well, too. So that's a problem, too. We have to protect these kids as well as anybody else that's going to and from that particular property. Now, this one-story building or 10-story buildings or whatever it is, 25,000 square feet, that's bigger than what the property is as well, too. So if they're really want to do a little section of it, they could go way towards the back in the corner and leave the front of it with the trees and everything alone. If that's really what they want, if they want to help us. But I'm sure that's not what it is. What was it? What else was that? With a flex fair building, whatever that is? Circular rounding surfaces? I don't know what that is, what he was talking about. I have no idea. And these trucks, why are trucks coming in and out of this particular area? That's ridiculous. How big are these? Are these semis? What the heck are they? What kind of trucks? What are they holding? We don't need that in our neighborhood. We don't want them in our neighborhood. And we don't need any more businesses. All they have to do is go down to the shopping center, which there are so many vacant spots there. If they want to open retail or anything along those lines, they're vacant, which of course is more crime and everything else that's in the area as well too that they can look at if they want to buy some of them and put their buildings there as well too. Any questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you. Anyone
Not
else?
real
like to be-
happy with this, so.
We can sell that. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to be heard as it relates to case 25-02? Yes, ma'am. Give us your name and address, please.
Sandra Walker. I'm 13384 Cleveland Road. My home is directly across from Polaris Street, if you can see it on that map. I don't know if I need to point it out.
Yeah, we can look it up. That's fine.
If you can see it or not.
Yes, ma'am. I get it.
Of course, I oppose that. I'm going to pull out my driveway and I'm going to look at 5 horrible buildings right in front of my house that I purchased, paid a lot of money for, a lot of traffic on the road. But if you notice, the whole road, starting from where Glen Road is, it's all residential, with the exception of a few, all the way to Highway 50, with the exception of a few grandfathered in businesses that sit a few spots. Everything from Glen Road all the way to Highway 50 is all residential. I don't understand why you want to throw up 5 buildings right in the middle of a neighborhood. When you pull out of Cleveland Springs, same thing. You're going to look at all these buildings. Now, when I purchased my home, a few years later is when they developed the area right in front of my home. It was all vacant at the time. It was still part of Cleveland Springs. It was like an annex part. I was told at that time that they were going to be building more of a community center, that there would be some soccer fields for the children. There might be a little rec center, something more activity related that would make this a little better community. Well, they've never done that. It's just been sitting there. It was never done. I don't understand why that was never done. There is no space from all those children in Cleveland Springs or on Boone Ridge Trail for them to go. There's no place for them to have any activities. That was what that land was, I was told, was going to be for. So I am very concerned about all the traffic. I mean, I just cannot imagine when you pull out of your driveway to see these 5 buildings or whatever it is that they really end up doing. They say that's what they'll do. I don't know. They could get permits for something later, apparently, is what I thought I understood from this gentleman. So, yes, we are very opposed to that. I mean, can't you come up with something that's just a little more community-oriented if you're going to develop it? Even more houses over there would be preferable than throwing up a business here and there. And just as my neighbor said, they have built a whole lot of new developments right there on 42. There's going to be a new Wawa coming in, right past the Biscuitville. They just put a whole new plaza in there. It's empty. There's hardly any businesses in there. So who's going to be over there? You know, who knows how long it'll be before anybody even develops anything. So just very disappointing. Hopefully somebody will come to their senses and realize that it's a residential, it's a community, and I'm hoping one day that even the speed limit will be reduced from 45 to show that it is more of a community on that road. Cleveland's road is very, very, very busy, and having 5 businesses sitting there, I think would be very detrimental to the area.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to be heard on case 2502? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Ramona Boone, and I live at 13200 Cleveland Road. It was told to us years ago that there would be a park over there. So we were under the impression that the community would have some family-oriented things going on. It's swampland back there. There's a pond that's been drained. I don't know who drained that, but that was evidently, it was not beavers. With these metal buildings, it reminds me of what has been done at Peddler's Village across the street on 42, which serve a purpose, but they look cheap. Our area deserves better than that. And what is the guarantee that these metal buildings will house a reputable business in them and one that can help the community? Is there any guarantee? I mean, is there any guarantee once he puts those metal buildings up, he could resell, and who knows who's going in those metal buildings? We have already got homeless people up and down Cleveland Road, in the woods, everywhere back there. That makes me nervous as far as safety. If you put businesses there, where are you going to widen the road? The front of my house has been widened. They took part of my road in a lot of people's yard. Where are you going to put more road? Where are you going to put more asphalt? I just worry about those things. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else be heard on case 25-02? Yes, sir. Give us your name and address, please.
I'm Timothy Games, 91 Sirius Street. So if you look at this little map here, you can actually see 91. That's my house. So forgive me, this is the first time I've ever been to a meeting like this, and I didn't plan on speaking. But
okay.
Now that I know a little bit more about it, I am definitely opposed to it as well. It's our whole street in the little cul-de-sac over here. There's a lot of young kids in the neighborhood that ride their bikes on Sirius and Polaris. So safety would be a concern for me. Also, I believe the first woman brought up school bus pickups. They pick up kids right there at the corner of Sirius and Polaris, and also Polaris and Cleveland right there. The buses already have a hard time turning around in that area, so adding more like commercial space and commercial traffic in that area is just gonna take away safe space for the kids, because most of them do, like she said, they wait off to the side in the grassy areas there. And then another concern, which is a little bit less important to me, but is the loss of property value that I'm gonna have. Because right now, where my house is located, you can see we've got the trees behind the house, trees across the street in front of the house, and then we've got that little grassy lot on the corner. So all of the view from my house is just nice green space, and I'd hate to lose that, especially if it's gonna be an industrial building that's got nice brick on 3 sides. Which side's probably not gonna have a nice side? The back. The back is what I'm gonna see. And then also, traffic concerns. Like the last woman said, there is already a ton of traffic in that area. And if we're gonna add, like commercial traffic, like bigger trucks, or even just like, customers for these businesses, that is gonna add a lot of traffic on an area that's already very busy, especially during morning and evening rush. I think that's all I've got. I just wanted to make sure that my opinion was heard.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone else like to be heard on case 2502? Yes, sir.
Jim Devlin, 13380 Cleveland Road. I was sort of appending onto what this man was talking about, and then I had a thought about something else, about these buildings. There's a lot of development on 42 and Cleveland Road, both sides, just from the interchange of I-40 and beyond, all the way down to almost to Benson Road the other way. I don't understand where these people think that, and if they have 5 businesses that are going to take each of those 5 buildings, that might make for a stronger argument for them. But I don't see where they mention anything about that. And you're going to have commercial traffic coming, you know, customers even, coming, driving, parking there, coming, leaving. And it's like it's kind of far away from the rest of the development. Now, there's some development in Glen Road, but it's close enough to the McDonald's and the Food Lion and all that, and that it doesn't affect the residential. There's a couple of pieces of farmland, and they got some condos on Glen Road, closer to Cleveland Road. And I just think that the whole logistics of having buildings that are going to be for commercial use that far away from the main artery of commercial business on 42, basically, that it's like, you know, you're going to go drive all over and turn this way and go that way and finally find your little business. I'm not sure businesses, if I was a business owner, I'm not sure I'd want to have my business in one of those buildings. And I agree. We need to save the trees. And that's all I have to say.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else? Everybody, staff?
Staff recommendation was for denial based on the consistency statement, which I'll read just part of it. It is in a regional mixed-use center, future land use place type, but the description of a regional mixed-use center in the land use plan encourages compact communities through a conditional zoning process in order to add site-specific conditions to manage project impacts. This being a straight rezoning request would not allow those impacts to be mitigated.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, I'm certainly concerned about the lack of ability to put conditions on the rezoning, and equally, if not more concerned about the breadth of uses that are permitted in the I-1 district that would be very inconsistent with the surrounding land uses.
There's no clarity.
Yeah. There's some in here that may be very harmonious and able to be designed in such a manner that it would be compatible, but there's some in here that it's hard for me to envision how they would be compatible with the surrounding land uses, and particularly not understanding what the applicant is actually asking for these uses. I mean, understanding what they're asking for in their application, but there's some of the uses that might seem incompatible at first, but could be mitigated, but we have no way to do that without conditional zoning. That's my thought.
I agree with that.
I think this 42 Cleveland area is something we need to keep an eye on. It's growing like crazy out there. And as some of them said, Cleveland Road is rural residential roadway, and there needs to be there needs to be a definition of where that takes place. And I think this original zoning, the way it was, is just fine, and it can be developed. It could be helpful to the community, I think, to develop that in a different way other than I-1 or industrial. And I'm with you. There's too many uses. It's too broad. Too many things on here that could be of just an overall I-1.
I mean, there's pharmaceutical manufacturing and distribution on here. That's too, not that I'm against that, but.
I make a
That's
motion
one
to
end of
uphold the staff recommendation of denial.
Second.
Got a motion for denial by Ms. Holmes, a second by Mr. Hudson. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That'll go forward to the Board of County Commissioners as a recommendation for denial. Case 2503.
Yes, sir. This is also a petition to rezone .958 acres located at 100, that's actually 10790, NC Highway 210 and the Elevation Township from community business to industrial 1. Owner is Adam Glenn and Mary John Barefoot. Applicant is NC Glazing and Fabrication. Utilities are 5210 Fire District and Rescue Squad. Its existing land use is zoned community business and used as a business office. Surrounding,
Yeah, well, if y'all want to clear out, that's fine. So we can hear the staff report, please.
surrounding land use is zoned agriculture, residential, and used for those purposes. Zoned industrial 1 and used as a glazing and fabrication company. And across the street is zoned general business special use district and is approved for auto sales, although as of right now it's vacant. Traffic count for this portion of NC Highway 210 is 10,000 vehicles per day. That was in 2023. It appears on the comprehensive transportation plan as an existing boulevard needing improvement. It is located within a low-density residential future land use place type on the land use plan. There were 6 notices sent out to adjacent property owners.
Questions of staff? Thank you, sir. Who'd like to be heard on behalf of case 25-03?
Good evening, Board. My name's Brian Leonard. I'm with BRL Engineering and Surveying, and I represent the owner in this request. I have a business here in Smithfield at 112 East Johnston Street. Sometimes you wish you could have been one up on the agenda. On this particular request, we are also requesting an I-1 rezone. I do, however, want to at least make a point of some stark differences between this particular site and the site that was just discussed. We are requesting a rezoning of .958 acres, and I see that staff does have it up. The cursor is circling the portion that we're requesting. That is currently zoned commercial business, and it's right next to a parcel that's already zoned I-1
with an existing business. And in this particular case, the owner owns both of those and operates a business on the adjacent I-1 parcel. So this request is directly related to the adjacent parcel that's already zoned I-1. Currently, the owner operates a commercial glass business there. I've learned just this evening that they do storefront glass and curtain wall glass. It's a specialized business, and they've been operating at that location for quite some time, according to the zoning. They also operate or use an office building on the one that we're requesting to be rezoned on the commercial business site that's related to that business. So again, he owns both those parcels, and he simply wants to rezone the commercial business parcel to match the adjacent I-1. And currently, his business is doing real well, and we're not trying to hide the fact that he does want to expand operations. His production facility is currently inside, and his storage is currently outside. So he desires to expand toward the east, toward the existing office building, and, I'm sorry, to the west, to the left, as we're looking at it, in order to build a new facility. And since it's related to the industrial business, the CB doesn't allow for that particular type of storage facility. So that's the background. That is the reason for the request, and it's certainly unique in the sense that there's already an existing business that operates there. Really, on both the parcels, they utilize both of those parcels. So it's been part of the neighborhood for quite some time. It's worth noting that it is conceivable that he could expand to the east, where you see those trees over there, and we've looked at that option. That's the parcel that's zoned I-1, and he could put that business right there, right now. Frankly, it lays out better for him the way the current vehicles that serve the site go in and out. It just lays out better if we could expand to the west. And you can almost envision, if you do expand to the east, there's a lot of trees going to be taken out, and probably more adjacent residential properties impacted than would be if we went in the other direction. So, you know, there's already a viable business operating there, and we feel that this request is logical in nature, since there's already an existing business and they do desire to expand. And just to be totally transparent, it does help in this situation for the future conditions. If you're a business owner, you're always looking to the future. Am I going to expand? Am I going to outgrow the site? Am I going to move to another location, or its operations going to cease to exist there? And when it's limited to just one use, that significantly devalues the future value of that property. So, you know, again, being totally transparent, that protects the owner somewhat for future value, in the sense that it doesn't limit him to what could go in there. He already operates a pretty significant I-1 use, so that's not going to change. And, you know, it's conceivable that if we talk about those future conditions, if it were ever to cease being a business, that something similar or even less intensive would likely go in there. So, you know, we certainly understand and greatly appreciate staff's recommendation in this case. I think it's pretty standard for straight rezonings, and we certainly understand why the first reaction would be to to go to a conditional zoning or something of that nature. But based on what I just described as the background and the existing uses, I feel like this is unlike a brand-new site. If this were a brand-new site, we would certainly understand and would even go for the I-1 conditional zoning use, but it is unique with the existing business there. So with that, I'll leave it. We have the owners here. If you have any questions for their, specific to their business that they can answer, they'd be happy to do that. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
And this might be better for staff, so forgive me if it is, but what's the history of the parcel that is currently zoned I-1? When was that zoned I-1?
That's a good question. And I will defer to staff. Maybe they know the answer better than I do.
I do not know that. Predates my team.
How long has the business been there?
Sorry.
You good?
Yeah, if you'll,
Adam Barefoot, offices at 10790 NC Highway 210, which is the little office there. We bought the business 13 years ago, and we bought the little parcel here about 10 years ago. The building was, you can see the rusty roof, that was built in the 60s, I believe. And then it was added, the addition was done, I'd say around 2006.
Was it always zoned like that?
I have not, yes, I have not done any rezoning.
what, was it the same business when you bought it and you
We
just
bought the
continued?
fabrication, yes, and we continue to do that. And once the house came available, it being zoned commercial, we bought the house, and that serves as their office.
Okay.
Now, if you see all the material laying in the yard, and all I want to do, I need office space, and I need to get all this material in the roof. It is common sense to extend the building and lose the house, and otherwise go to the right. Well, the kicker is all my electrical service is on the left-hand end of the building. I'm looking at a lot of money to clear and grade, and it's more economical and more, I guess, appealing for the traffic flow and for appearances to not be hidden with my office in the woods.
Gotcha. Cool. Very helpful.
Questions?
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, I don't.
No,
Very
I
helpful.
appreciate
Thank
the
you.
clarity.
Yeah, the history and background is a lot to the context here.
Other questions of the gentleman? Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to be heard as it relates to case 25-03? All right, bring it back to staff.
Yeah, I had a long conversation with Brian about this over the phone about whether to go straight rezoning or conditional. A lot of it had to do with not wanting to be tied down to a specific site plan at this point. Staff would just feel more comfortable if it did have a site plan and some conditions that could be put on it in the future, not to go straight I-1 to kind of, even if it limited the uses, some of the stuff like pharmaceutical manufacturing and stuff like that, just take some of that stuff out, but that's the sole reasoning behind it.
Thank you.
They could,
I'm a little more comfortable with this one just because something next door is already zoned that way. So it doesn't appear to me that we're spot zoning, because whatever's in this I-1 can already be done right next door.
I agree with that.
And
That's what
I
I was
have,
gonna say.
and of course, it looks like there were 6 notices sent out, and I know we would like to have a lot of control over the future. It's not as congested as others that have come before us. And I personally don't have a problem with it.
I like the fact that they have a plan.
That's
It's
right.
It's clear. It's not just going to be a building put up and roll
I
the
agree.
dice to see what goes in like the other one was. I'm with Ms. Howard and Mr. J.
I will say
like this.
also that any future buildings that are put up or anything would still have to go through a site plan process approved by TRC, so.
I think the gentleman also said, are you expanding the building? Like, are you building onto what's currently there? Or is it going to be separate, something separate? Or both?
We've discussed both options, but the preferred option right now is to have a separate building, and it'd be a short distance between the buildings. And of course, the property line would go away. We need that rezoning.
Right, that's the reason for my question, because if you're going to do that, then I wouldn't want to have, I'd probably just
Two
get rid
separate
of the
zonings.
property line and make it one parcel, but that's just my opinion.
Well, and we will do that, but we need the rezoning first.
Sure.
And just to add, thank y'all for, the more
Very much.
information you give us, obviously, it helps us make a better
Correct,
decision.
yeah.
Well, we're not trying to hide anything. We've been in business there as part of the community for a while. And we want to be a good neighbor as much as we can. And frankly, a new site plan, there's a lot we can do with buffering and screenings that would be required to make it look better than it does now.
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I got a motion to approve by Ms. Holmes, a second by Ms. Howard. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that'll go forward to the Board of County Commissioners as a recommendation for approval. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, next we
Yeah, written,
Yep,
written.
we have one written decision here for Bailey's Pond, so I'll need a motion, a second, and a vote authorizing me to sign this.
I'll make a motion to sign, approve as read.
Second.
Motion to sign and approve the written decision by Mr. Hudson, second by Ms. Holmes. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else for us, Mr. Marr?
No, sir.
Okay, everybody please be safe during the storm, and thank you for your service. We are adjourned.